Well, good evening everyone, you're very welcome to Inside Line Racing for round number 16 of ILR6 here at the Sochi Autodrome in Russia. My name is Graham and I'm going to try my best to bring you the action tonight from a very hit and miss race with a lot of people. This track can cause a lot of divide. It's certainly a very exploitable track. We'll get into that a little later, but it can be hit and miss. It can be great to drive, and it can be absolutely horrible to drive, depending on your point of view, I guess, as was the case with all tracks. But alas, we are here, 20 drivers here today. That's what you like to see, a nice full grid. So that's good to see. Howitz, I believe, is the first man on a flying lap, and as he goes round, he's actually on his flying lap at the moment. As he heads towards Sector 3, we can go over the standings in the championship rate quick, just as we get to 14 minutes left in the session. So at the top of the table, it is Danskar leading the way on 174 points, ahead of Antatak in second, 159 points, 15 behind. And actually Alex is the first on the lap, my bad. Howitzer is second. I knew there was a Haas in front. In third place there is Alex, actually, speaking of. He's on 91 points, he's a long way behind, and really that's where the end of the significance of the driver's standings go. It really is just a two-horse race at this stage between and Danskar. And then the constructors, Haas do lead the way in that one on 254 points. They are 25 ahead of McLaren in second, and then you got 163 points of Red Bull in third, and then Force India on 162 in fourth. So I think that clears that up. At the moment, we got Ant on the quickest so far on a set of hypers. So that's just been dislodged by Shalosh, 31.8 on the hypers. So this is a track where, geez, like, it is so congested out there. Traffic absolutely everywhere. This is a track where you can use the hypers. They're okay, I guess you could say. Just going off of my own experience, I do think the Ultrasoft is a safer tyre to be on. But theoretically speaking, you can do hypers to ultras here. It depends how you feel about the tyre wear and as such in the stint with the hypers. And there's so much traffic. I think that's Piet who has got himself disqualified somehow. I think he's actually left the session as well, so that's unfortunate for him. He was debating where to start from the back anyways. I see Boyden actually just picking up a bit of a toe from Ant. Hands off the racing line, and you can do that. You could just pick up the toe of a car in front before getting out of the way, so may as well. I've got Bill there in third. We may as well finish this lap with Boyden in the other Renault. His teammate Apex is in fourth with 32.6. Excuse me. You can see the majority of the field are split between hypers or softs, and Boyden slips himself up to sixth place, 33.2. Who is coming into the pitch? That is, and I believe Shalosh, will he join him as well? No, he's getting ready for another lap on the hypers. You don't want to take these hypers too far into qualifying, 1 or 2 laps max. Don't really want to be getting into any further territory with that, but he begins another lap. Pro Opa in the Toro Rosso. His teammate Sir Lane is on set softs. A good few drivers have selected the softs to begin here. Oh, you can see there's a car off the track. Is that Shalosh as well? No, it's the other Renault. It's the other Sauber, which is Fernandez. So Sir Lane on the softs again. Like other tracks, no super softs here. It is hypers, it is ultras, and there are softs right after that. So a big step in compound. To be fair, the softs here could honestly probably go the whole race distance. That's why if you are able to make an ultra to hyper or vice versa work, then you should do that, because I mean, with how the steps are in the compounds here, and how durable the tires are here, being that it is possible to do hypers to ultras, there's no real point using the softs in the race if you're doing from ultras or hypers. Worst case scenario, if you get damaged lap 1, you could pit for a set of softs, and they should be able to carry you to the end. They may not be fantastic, but it will go to the end as Apex then pops into first, 31.6 for Apex. Where is Sir Lane? We were spending a lot of time on that lap with Sir Lane, and he can only manage, he's at 33.5 on the soft, so not a bad time really. Charlotte then, to run out of ERS very early on this lap. He's not left himself a lot in this final sector. You don't need it as much as the others, and he goes quickest by a convincing margin, 0.6 of a second, 31 flat for Charlotte. Puts himself into P1, but 3 laps on those hypers. I imagine he would like to possibly ditch those if he can, possibly for a set of fresher hypers for sure. So I do expect many people to do the hypers to ultras, but again, easier said than done. If you really want to go safe, you can take it ultras and softs, or even the hypers and softs if you so wish. That's safe. But it has to be said, ultras and hypers to ultras is not too extravagant either. So, alas, there we go. That is what we're looking at for strategy. Sir Lane on another lap. We could pick up anyone who's a bit closer along. Dan's car hasn't really done anything yet, and he's on a set of the ultra softs. And it says best time on softs. Okay, so that's an indication where he's looking to be as Howitzer again. So it's a quick turnaround here, obviously, in a it's average length track. Sorry, 1.5 minutes. So, but there is a quick turnaround. I guess qualifying is just progressing quickly as there are less than 9 minutes to go. So Lane going to complete his lap, and doesn't look like this is going to be anywhere near the top. But what can he do? Can he improve? He does improve, 32.7. And actually, that's not a bad time, to be fair. That's a decent enough time on the softs. The delta, I think, is closer. You're creeping at 1.4, I believe, between, or is it closer to 2 seconds between hypers and softs? It's been a while, but it is there's a stark difference, as you would imagine, between hypers and the softs. Anything else doing in terms of lap times? Anyone getting close to the end of a lap? Plays coming through sector 3. There is a Haas in front of him in the form of Alex, and let's see what Alex can do as he rounds the penultimate turn 18, and then the acute turn 19. A few right-handers to end the lap. He's on a 32 flat, lifts himself into 3rd spot. So not bad from Alex, who has just seen his title hopes just absolutely disappear rapidly in the last 5 or so races. I mean, you look back, he was one of the we had once when we had 4 title contenders, he was up there. But if you look at his recent form, hasn't gone to plan. All started really in Hungary, in 9th place in Hungary, as Howitzer pops up to 7th. 9th place in Hungary, a DNF in Belgium like most of the field, 14th and 11th in Italy and Singapore. It's just been an absolute mare these last 2 races especially, and obviously the DNF in Belgium doesn't help. So some of that was his fault, some of it wasn't, to be fair. I think Singapore, he had an absolute mare, just didn't look like anywhere near the pace. And like Monza, he may have gotten involved in an accident. It was a while ago, so I do apologise for not remembering that clearly. Mr. Krumpusch, 32.6 on a set of ultras. To be fair, he's only like, yes, a few people on softs, but not tons. That's a good lap from Krumpusch. Lifts himself up to 6th place. Oh, well, Ant is, well, he's just finished the lap, and he's into 3rd place, narrowly missing out on 2nd there, 31.6. But again, they're nowhere near Charlotte for the time being. Daziek around in the final corner. There's a Ferrari behind him as well. I believe that will be Jacko, if Krumpusch has just come across the line. We're in the 19 of Felipe Massa, and he does improve, but it is only to 18th, and Jacko starting his lap on a set of ultras, so I'll be hoping that Williams will dart out the way as soon as possible if it's not on a lap, but it looks like it could be, to be fair. So Jacko might just have to deal with it, and well, that's not going to get it done. Speaking of corner cutting, regular corner cutting here, there was some sort of debate whether strict would be enforced, because you can really just it's so easy to exploit track limits at this venue. But they've been warned, the drivers have been warned beforehand that any, shall we say, clever interpretations, shall we put it, of corner cutting, then there will be repercussions, so fair warnings. But I still think we will see a fair few penalties even still, because it's just so easy to do it, to extend or to cut a corner. On strict corner cutting, this track is not the prettiest to do. It's certainly one of the more challenging ones in that regard, in terms of not picking up penalties. It's just so easy to do. So, alas, that is where that stands. So, regular corner cutting, See how they get on. Apex then starting a lap on Ultra, so must be feeling fairly confident that he can improve on a set of hypers, because I believe that was his fastest time, as everyone who has set their lap times on softs has now switched onto the Ultras, and Baza is one of them and pops into 7th with a 32.4. So we begin to see some of the quicker lap times now begin to fly out, but again it's going to be difficult for those on Ultras to try and get past those on the hypers. There's not a ton of difference between the two tyres. I believe it's less than half a second, and Rob is out of qualifying. Not sure where he's done that. Sector 1 possibly. Could have been some sort of exit of turn 4 or somewhere in between there. So that's that, and Rob will be starting any higher than 16th place. Sir Lane starting his lap on Ultras, and this is going to be really interesting. I think this could be a legitimate shot at pole position. I would hazard to guess, because there are 4 minutes left and Sir Lane is out now. You can easily do 2 laps on these Ultras. I'd imagine maybe that's possibly what he has in mind, but he can do one quick one and then maybe get himself back in and back out again for another. We'll see. His teammate is making his way through sector 2, heading towards just coming out of turn 11 as he goes through now. These two McLarens really need to get a move on. Plays and Danskar, we're used to seeing them, at least in the early stages of qualifying, certainly if nothing else, top the tables, top the timing sheets. So to see them both now, obviously look, there is obviously the fact they have set their fastest lap on softs, and that obviously plays a part. But I thought you'd see them a little bit further up the field, so they've left it late to get themselves up the board rather. So we'll see how they get on. Who is first? Charlotte is out, so I believe that's actually an accident. Actually, I don't think he's retired in the pits, so I'm not sure where that is, but that's not great for Charlotte. If he's done 3 laps on those hypers, he's in a convincing pole position right now, but not the way to go about it. And there's Danskar then popping about into 6th place, 32.1, gets out the way for the Williams of, is that it's not Daziek, which would mean obviously there's the other Williams of a Howitzer, and Sir Lane, there you go, Sir Lane 31.5 on the Ultras, so actually quite close to Apex as well, so good times here flying in on the Ultra Softs. That's good to see. So Charlotte then, no further part in Charlotte then for qualifying, so 3 lap hold hypers, see how he gets on with those and see if anyone can actually knock him off pole position. It's going to take a lot of doing. He's got a lot of gap between himself and the closest car, so we'll see what Bill can do on a set of hypers, and maybe Sir Lane on a second lap. But he's got Bill in front of him. Bill, I think, is on a lap as well, so this is bad news for Sir Lane if he's on a lap and he has to back out of it. So that's a shame for Sir Lane. Will he retire now? We'll find out soon enough. Alex then, oh there you go, there's Alex getting closer then to the top, 31.4, still second best, everyone else behind Charlotte at this stage. So that position, even though he's out of qualifying, doesn't look like it's going to change in the near future, unless, well, Bill is the one now who would actually have to pull one out at this stage, but he's backed out of it too, so I think that would be really frustrating to Sir Lane, having to back off behind him. And now Bill doing the same thing. Where is Murdoch? So again, these two Mercedes, one of the more fun things this season for me. There's been a lot of races that haven't been spectacular, but it has been fun to watch just how close these two Mercedes can be to each other. Always seem to be on the same split track and close to each other in qualifying, so that will always continue to humour me somewhat. So we're at less than a minute to go in qualifying. Charlotte is done. Alex, I don't believe is he on a lap? Could be. Sir Lane started the lap. Here is Apex, and this will surely be his last representative lap in qualifying. A bit wide on the exit and is still in 4th place, 31.5. So I think that would be it for Apex. Ant is beginning his lap on the fresh hyper, so he could still have a say in this qualifying session. Bill, we know, is on a lap. Plays, Danskar, they're all getting close. So who is the first one then to cross the line? with the checkered flag out. You can find someone, I think it is, might be Boyden actually. You might just get sneak in before the checkered flag goes. It's going to be so tight. Let's see if he can do it. And he just does it in the nick of time. So talk about the nick of time. Murdoch is done. He will be starting at the highest 10th. Alex is in, so that is him done. And then where is Bill? Bill then rounding turn 17, bit wide. See where he takes turn 18. How much apex does he take? Misses it. You really want to be trying taking that if you can. And this one as well. And Bill does not improve on his time. He will be starting at the highest 6th. Khalifa making his way through sector 2. And Sir Lane, there we go. I wasn't sure about where Sir Lane was. There you go, 30.8 on a set of Ultrasoft stats. That's thrown the gauntlet down. Really has thrown the gauntlet down to everyone else. Dance car and plays are done. Looks like Ant is backed off now as well. So that's going to be ish for Ant. Where is Apex? Apex is surely the only one now that could stop a pole position going Sir Lane's way. And he pulls into the pits. And with the exception of Baza and Khalifa, I think Bill actually just... Oh, Baza's actually... There you go. There's Baza. I was looking for him. He's vaulted all the way up to 6th. So a great lap from Baza. And then Khalifa with even an astonishing 31.4 for Khalifa. That has to be his highest position in ILR6 this season in qualifying. That's a fantastic lap from the Force India. Really put that together. And there you go. That's throwing the cat amongst the pigeons, certainly. I believe that's it then. Boyden then will come across in 11th. And that will do it for qualifying. So, interesting session indeed. Now, we thought Sir Lane would have his own way. I believe it was Monza or Singapore where he started pole. I think it may have been Singapore. And didn't quite go his way. But we'll see if the same story is the case here in Russia. So then, Sir Lane on pole position, 2/10 ahead of Shalot, but of course is on the hypersofts. Alex in 3rd, Khalifa 4th, Apex 5th, Ant in 6th, Baza 7th, Bill is in 8th, Plays in 9th, Dancecar's got some work to do in 10th, Boyden 11th, Murdoch 12th, Crumpet 13th, Jacko 14th, Howitzer 15th, Pro Opus 16th, Rob 17th, Daziak 18th, Fernandez 19th, and Piet might not even get to partake in this one if he didn't get back in. He is in 20th in the other Force India on. Oh, please. That's absolutely tragic. If that's Khalifa disconnected, he won't be able to start the race. So that is absolutely tragic. Having qualified in 4th, he's not going to get the start, is he? That would be a tragedy. I don't think he will. some chatter in the ILR6 chat. Sir Lane to the stewards, possibly. I think someone may have seen a bit of corner cutting. It would make sense, of course. Look, I can't catch everything here. It would make sense if some people's lap times were a little skewed because based on corner cuts. So we'll see how it goes. It is a dry race. For now, you can only work on what we have. So. Yeah, let's hopefully get a good race here, near enough full grid, and let's see what we get. Khalifa, no, Khalifa isn't here, so that's absolutely tragic. He's going to miss the race, having qualified for. That's a desperate shame for him. So then, strategies. Then we know obviously Sir Lane is on Ultrasoft as his Apex. Who wants to watch Plays and Dancecar, the 2 McLarens, and opting to go for race strategy rather than track position in terms of qualifying. And outside the top 10, we got Crumpet and Jacko, the 2 Ferraris on the Ultras. Everyone else, Murdoch, Pro Opa, Howitzer, Rob, Daziak, Fernandez, Piet, are all on the Hypersofts, as obviously is the case with the rest of the guys in the top 10 that I didn't just name. So, dry race. Hypersofts, you want to get them to a lap. I believe it's at least, if you're going hypers to ultras, you want to get into at least lap 10, 11 or 12 or so, I believe. And really for ultras you can pay any time they start to go off, and the softs will go to the end. If you want to go to hypers, I'm not too sure how that will work, but we'll see what Sir Lane does, Apex and some of these other guys, how they decide to go about it. If they go play it safe, go softs, go early. Again, all to play out, all to see amongst across the 27 laps here at the Sochi Autodrome. So Lane just bolted away, really. Preferably, if you're the car in front, you would like to back them up somewhat, so your tyres aren't sitting there on the grid for too long, while the rest of the grid forms up. So, for example, you've got PS here just coming in towards turn 14 now. So, whereas Sir Lane is rounding the final corner, so it's going to be sat here for a good number of seconds as the rest of the grid forms. Of course, a very long run to turn 1. You could argue that having pole position here is actually not where you want to be. So, and of course, there is the kink. Of course, turn 1 is the kink, and turn 2 is the first braking zone. That's always one you forget. So, apologies if I called turn 2 turn 1. It's just forced to habit that the first turn is the braking zone. But of course, not the case in Russia. So Piet then will line up if he's even in his car, and we can get set. Let's go over with Alex. You have a good view of this from third place. If he gets a good start, could get a good run down towards turn 1. And Sir Lane is on the hyper, so 5 red lights, and away we go. Oh, a bit of a very wheel spinny start for Alex, and that's a decent start for Charlotte as well. There's Ant and Apex as well right behind Ant. Looks like he's got a great start, to be fair. Oh, a little bit of contact from behind. No carnage though down the main straight, and Charlotte's gone for the move into turn 1. Can he make the corner? He can, and Charlotte moves into the lead of the race. Apex has lost out to Ant. They're going side by side still. There's Alex there as well. Charlotte and Sir Lane still going out. He's going to go for the dive. He's going to go for the dive, is he? Charlotte. And Sir Lane has took that position back. Apex looks like he's stuck ahead of Ant, and Alex have a sneaky look as well. So they all seem to get away fairly cleanly. If you look down the rest of the grid, Probe are going a little bit wide, but they all seem to make it through relatively unscathed. Oh, and Charlotte's got to be careful not to lose positions here. He's gone very, very wide, and that's put him under pressure. You got Bill and Plays. Oh, there's all sorts of carnage going back there. Two McLarens are getting very feisty, not so much with each other, but in general. And we got Boyden and Bill side by side as they negotiate the long right-hander of turn 12, and then the kink of 13. Anton Apex is going for the move, and a VSC is out as Daziek is out of the race. There he is. You can just see him there into the wall. So the virtual safety car has been deployed, and a 5-second penalty for a major collision with Boyden and Bill. And you can see Bill is missing part of that front wing. So then, a lot of action going on early. The net result of it all is Ant is up 2 places, Boyden's up 4. That's the general gist of it, and we are racing again though, so a very brief VSC. No one coming in to take advantage of oh, there's some more wing damage flying off there. Who was that? I thought I saw some wing flying across the screen. Not sure who it was, but looked like something. No one coming into the pits to take advantage of the VSC. Oh, and Charlotte's gone for the move into Sir Lane again, very, very deep into turn 1, and Apex and Ant as well, and Baza's close behind this as well. We'll stick with Baza for the time being. Actually, we'll go to Charlotte, files in. So then, where are Baza and Boyden then? Is he going to slip by? Oh, he may have cut the corner there slightly, but Boyden moves up into 6th place, ahead of Baza, and he's got his teammate then in front of him. But Baza isn't done quite yet. He's going to fight around the outside and does get the move done, to be fair, back. Excuse me, on Boyden. Good move there. Boyden trying to sneak it through. He's left the space, to be fair. Not your conventional overtaking spot, but he was left the space. Oh, and Apex! Oh, sorry, it's Alex, and he's into the wall, and he looked like he had lost the back end. And to be honest, he's incredibly lucky not to lose a wheel. Incredibly, incredibly lucky. So, and we got, oh, that's a car going very, very slowly. That is Mr. Crumpet going very, very slowly, letting cars go. There's all sorts of commotion trying to keep up. My apologies. Baza is back through, as we said, on Boyden. Sir Lane still ahead of Charlotte and ahead of Apex. So a lot of stuff going on early on. We got Jacko and Howitzer scrapping at, heading into turn 16. And all sorts of his Junior Magnus Baza Boyden is through and is through on Shalosh. So it's all go early on here in Russia. This is what you like to see. Sorry if I can't keep up with all of it, there's a lot going on. DRS is enabled now, of course, and will that give Baza the opportunity to come back through what's a straight line speed light, like I should say. Pulls over to the right hand side and really down the inside into turn 2. A little bit of contact, Boyden off the track a bit and retakes that spot, and Danskar's right there as well, going for plays for this actually. He's got a good seat in the house for this, has to lift off the throttle somewhat. He has to be so careful when cars are battling through there. Danskar swoops around the outside of Baza, and Baza then loses a few places then and is into 8th place. Look at Jacko going all the way around the outside of Crumpet Howitzer. Rob is there too, and Fernandez. So a lot of stuff going on early here. The two McLarens side by side plays, and Danskar, because Danskar around the outside, so he has to keep that position. These Mercedes are in, McLarens are in a Mercedes sandwich, so to speak. Got Baza, Danskar, plays, Murdoch. Now then heading down a second DRS straight. What is the straight line speed like for Danskar? Space is left. And Ant then making a move for the lead of the race on Sir Lane. Runs a bit wide. And there's Charlotte here as well, so there's all sorts of commotion going on. And Sir Lane, Ant still scrapping away. Ant on the hypers, Sir Lane on the ultras. Oh, there's 4 of them scrapping for the lead. It's going to end in tears surely. Someone's going to lose a lot of ground here. Plays is through on Baza. They're still fighting, but we're going to stay right here. Now then, DRS. Who's going to make the most of this? Charlotte's got a good run on Ant heading out of that final corner, and they sweep through the first one. Straight line speed, even with DRS, of course, Ant will have the same benefit as well. And down the inside, he's going to send it. Now force Ant wide, and Ant looks like he's going to keep the position with Apex right there as well. Go back on board, heading into turn 5, and no dive this time from Shalosh. And has kept that position for the time being. Yellow flag in sector 1. Oh, Howard is off the track and he's damaged his wing, so he's involved in some sort of incident there, you would imagine, with another car. But we'll stay here at the front. This is allowing Sir Lane to just pull away ever so slightly, and that's exactly just the kind of respite he needs at the moment, with Ant, Shalosh, Apex all scrapping away for P2. And heading down the second DRS straight again through turn 12. Shalosh shaping up a move on Ant, has got DRS on Sir Lane this time. Going on the outside is Shalosh. Is he going to get the move done? Oh, Ant keeps his car there. A little bit of contact with the outside line heading towards that's turn 15. And Shalosh has lost out there and now is under pressure from Apex. So having initially thought he got the move, though he did choose an unusual line to get to make an overtake, but has run wide heading out of turn 17. That leaves the door open for Apex. Will he go through it? No, not on this occasion, but he's going to get if he gets a good run out of turn 19, surely he's going to get a great run with the DRS. But one saving grace for Shalosh is that he will have DRS as well on Ant. Is that enough to keep him in front of that Renault? It might just be. Will it be a case of Apex sending the move down the inside? Oh, he has done late braking. Cuts the corner slightly, but doesn't make contact with Shalosh. And there's Boyden and Danskar then scrapping away for P5 now. Side by side to the long right-hander of turn 4. Ant has caught back up to Sir Lane as well. And Danskar then gets himself through and moves up into 5th place. That's a big move for Danskar, because his championship rival is in 2nd and would be at this stage gaining points on him, and could be gaining another place very, very soon as well. He's caught right back up to the back of Sir Lane and has dropped Shalosh. So that did not take long at all, though they are still very tightly bunched. But surely then Ant is going to retake this lead even before DRS is open. Pulls over to the right hand side and will surely get this move done and moves back into the lead of the Russian Grand Prix. And they're all well behaved behind it as well. So plays in also getting closer to this battle as well. The Boyden and Danskar will stick at the front. Who comes in first then at this stage? You could go get a soft to the end, but who's going to take that gamble? Who's going to be the first to blink here at the front? It is Sir Lane on ultras. So Oh, he's completely missed the pit lane. That'll cost him a second or two. And got Shalash and Apex runs side by side, more so a second rather than two. So Sirlane in extremely early. I'd imagine he'll go for set softs and run to the end, but that releases Ant at the front. Keep an eye on Sirlane. Apex in without DRS. Shalash on the left hand side, the racing line. Some terrible camera angles, sorry. They're still scrapping, fighting side by side. And Shalash just edges ahead, keeps that position for the time being. And okay, so where then? Sirlane then has emerged in 13th place on assess softs. Howitzer is just ahead of him, so a little bit of traffic there to negotiate if you can do that on the first lap. Now then, as Baza then looks to try and set a move then on Boyden, a little bit of lag involved. So what do the rest of these front runners do then? And Sirlane then has set the has gone in extremely early. Could have taken those ultras easily halfway into this race if he so wished. So he's gone very, very early. What do the rest do? Do they stick to their guns, or do they react to the not so much undercut, but just the strategy change? As you've got Murdoch, as Baza and Boyden, they're all running so close to each other. Two Mercedes then runs side by side down a second DRS straight. Murdoch, Baza, how will this end? And Boyden in between them as well, and they both get by. They're more the kind of stricken Renault in many ways. And move over to 6th and 7th respectively. So then at the front, no change. Ant stays out, and so does Shalash, so does Apex, and the rest of the field doing the same thing. So if Sirlane was hoping to trigger some sort of undercut or kind of bait these guys into pitting early, that hasn't worked. See how it goes as Apex then looking to shape a move on Shalash, and he gets a move done before turn 1. And as Apex then into 2nd place. And Danskar then is, I think Danskar is slowly but surely bringing himself into the fold in this race. He's only 4.4 seconds behind Ant in the lead. So Danskar had a lot of positions to make up early on. He's got through the traffic, and he's catching up to these guys as well. And obviously these guys squabbling has obviously helped as well when it comes to making up some time. Plays is on the same thing as well, doing 2.4 seconds adrift of his teammates. So he's done well. What about Sirlane then? On the softs, behind Howitzer, so he's getting closer to the back of that Williams. He is 26 seconds behind Ant in first, and it's key for him to negotiate this Williams quickly, and that's what he does. And moves up into 12th place, and how much air has he got between himself and Fernandez? 2.5 seconds. So not a ton to make up. Meanwhile, Crumpet, I think Boyden's really struggling on those hypers. He's been dropping back in terms of positions since his energetic start. Meanwhile, at the front though, it looks like the Ultrasofts are maybe beginning to be the tire to be on, because you can see that Apex on the fastest lap of the race, and he's made up a lot of ground to Ant. So is Ant thinking about making a pit stop soon? Well, can he hang on to his position for the end of this straight? And Jacko is out of the race. There he is. Oh, you can see his car right into the, just lodged right into the wall there. So not sure how he's managed to do that, if there's been an accident with another car or if he's had a moment on his own. But Jacko is out of the Russian Grand Prix, and there's one less Ferrari then to spectate in this race. No VSC or safety car for that. Looks like we will just be carrying on. His teammate trying to find a way past Boyden through the long right-hander. Had to think about it. Opportunity wasn't really there to make a move into 8th. So nothing doing on that occasion for Crumpet, but it'll surely be only a matter of time. Same situation with matter of time, speaking of, as Sirlane gets moved on Fernandez. And now, how much time has he got then between himself and Crumpet? 9 seconds. So that's a nice window now for Sirlane to push in, settle into the softs, because he will be taking those to the end of the race. As Crumpet gets by Boyden, then he moves up into 8th place. At the front, meanwhile, Apex and Ant still tussling away, and no sign of coming to the pit yet. Oh, Charlotte's into the wall, and there's a car there with him. It's Dan's car, and Charlotte's the one given a 5-second penalty for the collision. So possibly, don't want to jump to conclusions, but having not seen it, but if the steward or the game has decided to award Charlotte the penalty, it must believe then that he is at fault for the incident. Not sure about that one, but that's a big accident because I believe Danskar is missing part of his front wing now as Charlotte and Boyden come into the pits. So that's a big one, as Murdoch then is going to get by Danskar then into 4th place. Can he make the move stick? Not the best run through turn 2, but gets the move done. So that's a big one then in terms of the championship, because Ant is leading the way in this race and is looking at a podium at the moment, surely. And Danskar then is going to have to replace that wing as well, so he's going to lose more time and fall further back in the group. So interesting to see then where he figures amongst things once he makes his stop. And we got at the front. Speaking of Ant, he is here trying to defend this lead from Apex, and I think it's going to be difficult for him to do so. And I don't think that DRS is actually activated on that car. It's possibly a fault with DRS for Apex. Maybe that's the reason why he hasn't been able to make a move yet, because DRS doesn't look like it's been activated. If there's a DRS fault, of course that would prevent such a thing from happening here, like in Sector 1. And Charlotte is out then, so he's called it a day after that accident. So he was a contender for this race, and that incident with Danskar, however it may it began or happened, has cost dearly, and he will be playing no further part in this race. Lap 9, despite all the craziness, we're only now just moving on to lap 10 of 27, so a lot has happened. It's been a very entertaining race so far. And again, the DRS is activated this time on the Renault of Apex. So again, he's not close enough to make a move on Ant, and this is actually really hurting, I think, the stint as Danskar comes into the pits then. This is hurting the stint of Apex. He's on Ultras. I'd imagine he could go quicker than Ant if he was able to get by, but that is the problem, isn't it? He cannot get by right now. The field has spread a bit, and soft tyres going onto that car. McLaren and a set a new front wing as well. So now that we finally, I think the race has finally settled down somewhat, we need to take a quick drink. Fantastic start to that race. It really has been. It's settling down a bit now, but still a nice little battle going on at the front here. Sir Lane is catching up to Crumpet in 6th. The gap then between the two is 25 seconds. That gap, despite being on fresh tyres, that gap has not really come down a lot, because it was around 26 or so when he came out, wasn't it? So he hasn't made a ton of time up on the front runners at the moment. So at the moment, you'd have to say the advantage surely is with Ant and Apex. So then will Ant dive in? And looks like he is diving in. So then lap 10 ending on to lap 11, Ant is diving into the pits. Can he slow down in time? He does, as Howitzer retires from the session. Where is he retired? Oh, there it is. He must have hit a wall or something. Amazing safety car isn't being deployed for that. Anyways. Okay, so he's doing, sorry, I said ultra soft for Ant. Of course, he did start on the hypers. So Ant is doing the hypers to ultra strategy. He's got 11 laps on those hypers. So stands to reason I could easily get a set of ultras to the end of the race. Now, where will he come out? Will he come out behind Sir Lane? I imagine he will. Getting up to speed, actually, he's going to be close. And Ant, despite that, is still ahead of Sir Lane. So he's on fresher, softer tyres, and he is still emerged in front of Sir Lane. So the undercut really didn't work out for Sir Lane there. 5 laps. That's what I mean. Like when I said earlier that these softs aren't a good race tyre, because they don't have the pace. If it was a set of supers, you could argue differently, but just how the softs are, they're a much slower tyre, and the durability is not too bad around here. So coming in early hasn't paid off at all for Sir Lane, and while his tyres will be up to temperature, if he does get by, and surely you would imagine it would only be temporary, but we'll find out. So it now remains to be seen what Apex will do. Will he continue with his stint and go for a set of hypers, or will he come in for a set of softs now, basically to respond to that lap, or to the undercut rather, of Ant? We shall see, as Bill gets by. Love to get by Fernandez, actually, because he's got wing damage and is struggling to make the corner there. He's just letting people go. Has to be careful though. Boyden's right there as well. He parks it on that Apex. So Fernandez was running in the points, but his hypers, I think, have Gone a little bit past their sell by date. Apex carries on for another lap at least, and Murdoch comes in then. So the first of the Mercedes then. Sorry, second of the Mercedes, right, because Baza did pit last lap amongst the activity amongst the front. And a new nose cones going onto the front of that Mercedes. And where will he emerge actually? Will he emerge? Because might emerge still ahead of this bunch. We'll find out. I'll also keep an eye on Sir Lane, but it looks like he's too far back on this occasion. Bill then, of course, we know had an accident early on, and Baza looks like he's passed his teammate, just emerging now. Baza looking to make a move as well on Bill. Racing line for turn 2, swoops around and gets that move done. So Baza then moving up into 6th place, but is a long way off then Sir Lane in the 5th. So Baza could be looking at the best case scenario 6th place if it stays as it is. But of course we know also that a number of people still have to make their stops at the front, like the likes of Crumpet and Plays. We'll see how they figure into things amongst Baza. Possibly, well, more than likely, Crumpet will fall into the clutches of those and they'll get by. Bill trying a very extravagant line around the outside to try and get by. But speaking of kind of getting caught up a bit, you have Ant here just catching up to the back of Crumpet. Of course, excuse me, you have to make a stop, these front 3 on the Ultras, I believe. So they are the only ones yet to make a stop, because PS now is into the pits. I believe it's still a Ghost, is he? So we'll see. Anyways, Ant is by. Crumpet then into 3rd, and he can continue his march on and sets the fastest lap of the race, 36.2. And Sir Lane then looking to negotiate the same story as well. Gets by Crumpet, and Crumpet tucks in, and then that releases him, and Sir Lane could continue trying to keep up with with Ant rather. Alex, of course, well down the field after his accident. So it's been another race to forget for Alex so far. A lot could change. A safety car could come out and change everything, but seems unlikely at this stage. So what we're really waiting for at this stage now of the race is for, we've got a move here going on. We'll get back to that in a second. Murdoch around the outside of Boyden, misses the corner completely. That's a bit on the edge now, I have to say, if of track limits and overtaking. He's illegally overtaking a car off of the track. So Stewart may want to have a look at that later on. He hasn't really let him back through either. So he's just extending, just really exploiting those regular corner cutting and extending limits. So I think the stewards may want to have a look at that later on. But really nothing else is going on really. We're just waiting for kind of some pit stops to take place at the front, and nothing doing for Apex and Plays. So the top 2 staying out for now, but it won't be long surely before we do see those Ultra Softs replaced with a set of Hypers. Meanwhile, further down the field, Danskar pitched out to a set of Softs in the end. Of course, to replace that wing after that incident with Shalosh, who of course has retired from the race. So a bit of a recovery drive is needed here from Danskar. See what he can do despite the difficult circumstances at the moment. Things aren't looking fantastic for his title chances at the moment in terms of this race. He can help himself if he gets by Bill, and looks like he'll do just that, and he moves up into 7th place then, past the Haas. At the moment, I would say Ant is looking pretty decent for either the race win or 2nd place at least. So, well, at least 2nd place, because obviously Plays yet to make a stop and is only 10 seconds ahead of Ant, and obviously only 19 seconds separating Apex from Ant. So there'll definitely be some time gain there, and Ant will definitely leap ahead of Plays in the stops. Of course, we think, or Apex rather, but we think Apex is going to go for a set of the Hyper Softs to end this race. 15 laps elapsed for the lead runners of 27. It's been a good race, I have to say. And I think there's a few more twists left in this one as we see a couple of guys move on to the hypersofts, surely for the last stint. All to play out. All to play out still in ILR6 at Russia. The title fight could be shifting in a very different direction than possibly was thought heading into this one. Could it be Ant retaking that lead of the title? It's been a while, I think, since he has been in the lead of the title, but a win today would definitely get him back into that position and get him with a, if he here's the thing, if Danskar even if Danskar finishes 5th and Ant wins the race, that's a 10 point lead Ant will take into the next race, which I believe is Japan. So that'll be a big one for Ant if he can do that, but the race is not over yet and Danskar is not in 5th place, so at the moment nothing doing on that front. We'll just have to wait and see. And here we go then, Apex dives into the pits, and I wonder if Plays will react to the same thing given he knows what tyre he is on. And there you go then, lap 14. It is time to ditch those Ultrasofts, and now let's see, I would imagine a set of Hypersofts are awaiting that car. Yes, they are. Hypersofts for Apex, and where's Ant? Ant is rounding the final corner. Let's see the gap then between Ant and Apex once they make their stops. Ant is already well by, so this is what Apex will have to make up on the Hypers if he wants to win this race. Plays on Hypers as well. And Ant, let's see, looks like it's stabilized around 6 seconds or so, 5.96 seconds. Sir Lane then into the pits again, so Sir Lane then probably could have taken us off to the end, decided not to, and is probably on set of Hypers as well. He's going to fall quite down in the order, but he's going to have a lot of overtaking to do, you would imagine. And speaking of overtaking, Murdoch looking to shape one up on Bill, heading into turn 2. Softer tyres, and again, that is absolutely terrible. No attempt to use the track at all, so I think there will definitely be words about that. Oh dear, that's poor, that's really poor. Talk about exploitation of track limits. So anyways, 5 and a bit seconds the gap is to Apex 2, and that's what he has to make on the Hyper. So now we'll see how he gets on. Plays it, emerges in 4th, and could still be looking at a podium here, because Crumpet's on 15 lap old Ultras. He'll have to pit again to ditch those. So Plays then quietly has put together a podium drive possibly here in Russia, so a great job from him, considering that he did start in 9th place, so he's done very well to do that. And it's not over yet, of course. So then, oh, Apex is absolutely demolishing into this lead already, 4.7 seconds, as Crumpet then finally does make his stop, and that does release Plays then into 3rd. So Apex is eating into this time quickly, and here's the thing, he will catch, I'm sure. Excuse me, he'll catch, but can he overtake, and can he stay in front? Then will the tyres continue to give him what he needs once he does make a stop? He got Sir Lane making a move on Bill. This is for 7th place, and Sir Lane then moving back ahead of Bill. And shortly up the road is Murdoch then as well. 1.3 seconds between Sir Lane and Murdoch. I imagine he'll have that close up by possibly even the 2nd DRS straight, so we'll actually stay on board for this one, because it's probably the closest thing happening on track at the moment. He's going to come up, to be fair, I think Sir Lane could even get himself back up to even 5th place, or possibly even 4th, if the pace is strong. 11 laps to go, including the one they're on. So it's very, very possible that he could do just that. They are both catching Danskar at this stage. So, I mean, look at that. He hasn't even, like, we're just at the DRS section now, and look at that. Sir Lane will shape a move, and he'll move up surely into P6. There you go, easy as you like. And now you can get after Danskar then in 5th. Apex then 34.2. He's absolutely flying. 2.9 seconds the gap is to Ant. He is absolutely going to demolish that gap so quickly. So that's the pace he has. The pace the Hypers have at this phase of the race is extremely strong. Sirlane then looking to shape up a second move in a sector and a half, basically, on the back of Dan's car. Goes at 33.3, so there you go, they're just showing the pace. These Hypers are absolutely rapid, and there he goes, flies by the McLaren, and there you go, into 5th place, and is Sirlane already, so he's making up a lot of time on this stint. And next up is Baza, who's only 4.5 seconds ahead of Sirlane, so you'd imagine, given his rate of progress, that Sirlane will be, in a few laps, be back within that already. Another man on the Hypersofts is Crumpet. He's got Boyden in front of him and just makes mincemeat of him heading out of turn 5. So nice easy move then for Crumpet, moves up into 9th place. 2.3 the gap is at the front and to Apex. And closing all the time is that gap. Lap 18 of 27, still 10 laps to go. 9 when they cross the line, as Ant does now. 36.0 for Ant, 34.6 for Apex. So you can see the time he is losing, obviously, on those Hypersofts compared to the Ultras. So a lot of time then for Apex once he does reach the back of that Red Bull to get it done. But of course, as we know, passing is one thing. Sorry, catching is one thing, passing is another. We'll see how that goes. Well, Murdoch is still catching up to the back of Dan's car, 1.1 seconds on a fresher set of Ultras compared to Dan's car softs. So Dan's car in danger of falling further behind then in this race, and if he does, he's going to lose a lot of ground in the championship standings. But what would certainly boost him is if Apex can basically take 7 points away from Ant by overtaking him for the lead of this race and the win of this race. If he can do it, it would certainly minimize the losses Dan's car is going to have today, leaving the Russian Grand Prix. Give it another lap or two, I'd say one more lap, and Apex will be within DRS range of Ant, maybe if the end of this sector possibly. Can he creep within the DRS range for the activation point? There it is, I believe, so I don't think he has, but he will definitely have DRS for the second DRS straight. So then, just confirm that the activation point was indeed that line. No, beforehand, because there it is. Actually, it was actually a lot closer than I remember. So he's got DRS now on Ant, and now see how long it takes for him to get by. Sirlane 1.4 seconds behind Baza in 4th, 35.5. So again, he's had a blistering lap early on, but now into the 35, so not the best lap there from Sirlane. Couldn't have taken too much out of those Hypers already. So we'll see. As Ant run a little bit wide there. I wonder if he's just beginning to feel the pressure somewhat of Apex, who is just, he will known, is just hurtling behind on the Hypers. We got an actual overtake going on. It is Crumpet on the bill for P8, and that's how you make an overtake into turn 2. Crumpet then obviously with the much fresher and a lot softer tyres than Bill. And actually, come to think of it, Dan's car could still be in trouble to Crumpet at this rate. 8 laps to go, including the lap we're on, and only 7 seconds between Dan's car and Mr. Crumpet, so that could be somewhere, another position possibly, where Dan's car could lose a place, and he's lost one to Murdoch here, so he has, I'm not sure where that happened, but Murdoch then into 6th place ahead of Dan's car. So then that literally does release Crumpet into Dan's car. Then can Dan's car fight back? And that's going to be tough on the softs. Meanwhile at the front, here we go then. DRS is enabled and it's gone defensive, going back across onto the racing line. and no way through for Apex through turn 2. Can he get around turn 4 though? This would be an impressive and ambitious move. He could make this one stick. Much better run speed. Will he go down the inside? He will. Oh, thought about it. Backed out of it. Thought better of it. Door was open, to be fair, but didn't fancy it, didn't feel comfortable with it. And Ant again, running very, very wide. Is this Apex's chance? He has to be patient with this one. No point creating an accident or overtaking at an ill-opportune moment, and that is what I would call an ill-opportune moment there. That's not the best place to overtake. Danskar and Murdoch going side by side as well. We'll stick with this one. The battle for the lead of the race. Lap 21. I think Apex. Oh, actually, it's Ant with DRS. Will that just save him this time round? It does. So Ant then takes the lead, keeps the lead, I should say, by virtue of just having the DRS benefit. Meanwhile, Sir Lane is onto the back of Baza then. So Sir Lane looking at P4 here. And Danskar still trying. Actually, Danskar did find a way back through Murdoch, so that's a big one for Danskar. See if he can keep that spot. See if Ant can keep this spot in for lap 21. Obviously, the lead of the race, and on is just hot in his tail. It's so hard to resist a car on fresher tyres and softer tyres behind. That's what Ant is doing for the moment, though, and looks like he will still do so down this main straight heading into turn 2. So the straight line speed is okay for Ant. It's the corners obviously where the advantage does switch to Apex. And again, when you have a look around the outside into turn 5, uses a bit, kind of cuts the corner a bit, but files back in, and Ant still holds the lead. Oh, he's gone for the dive. Oh, and Ant is out of the race. Apex has absolutely swiped his tyre off, and that could be a pivotal moment in the title race. Ant was set to at least retake the lead of the title race with Danskar down in 7th, and Apex has gone for a dive and has ripped the wheel off of Ant, and that is going to be, oh, that's a poor one. That is going to be a pivotal moment in this title hunt. Is there any way Ant can recover from that? That is desperately disappointing. With Apex having such an advantage with tyres, didn't need to go for that, and has just absolutely ripped that tyre off of Ant. Well, well, well. I cannot believe that. That is insane. Meanwhile, Murdoch is trying to continue to fight on Danskar, and Danskar shouldn't really fight this too hard now. He's gaining points over his rival no matter what now. That is a huge swing, a massive, massive swing in the title. Instead of losing the lead and going down by 8, 9, 10 points in the title, now Danskar can look to extend his lead to 20 plus points. Not impossible for Ant to recover from, but at such a blow, having been in such a great spot, having such great pace in this race as well. Probably the fastest Ant has looked in a race for a while, probably since, well, more so since kind of not counting Italy, kind of the best he's looked in a race, I think, since Austria at the very least. So that's a rough one, and Baza then trying to hold off Sir Lane. This is for 3rd place. All of a sudden this has become a battle for the podium position. So after everything, Sir Lane could still end up with a podium here, and that would be a great result, considering that he has done the 2-stop. So both Mercedes embroiled in a battle. Baza trying to hold off Sir Lane. Murdoch trying to get by Danskar, then lap 23 of 27. Creeping closer to the end of this race. It's been an entertaining one, been a very controversial one as well, with that latest incident. See what happens though. Sir Lane with DRS, is he just taking a bit too much out of those hyper softs? So he's gaining and gaining dramatically on Baza. Pulls over to the left hand side. Can he get the move done? He does. And Murdoch looking to get the move done on Danskar as well, side by side. And Murdoch then moves up into 5th place then, so Mercedes then getting closer to each other as they've basically lost one battle. Of Murdoch with a very twitchy rear end there, heading through turn 16. Will that give Danskar a bit of life? And actually Baza, Sirlane has come into the pits. Not sure what that's about. But that definitely helps Danskar in terms of he gains a position from that. I'm not sure what the thinking is here. I didn't see a puncture on that car, at least on the front. And Danskar then moving ahead of Murdoch once again, who again just takes to the track, outside the track limits to overtake. So not the greatest drive from Murdoch, has to be said, in terms of clean racing as such. Got Boyden on the back of Bill as well, so a few battles here emerging. And down the inside goes Boyden on Bill. Bill just on, he's on 22 lap old softs. He's taking these a long, long way, and loses then P7 to Boyden. And I'd actually argue he's going to be caught by Sirlane here. He's got 10 seconds, but given how obviously the tyre difference, I think it's going to be very, very quickly Sirlane's going to catch that gap to Bill. So we'll see what happens there. And picks up a penalty for his troubles in the process. Look at Crumpet then. Crumpet's then got round to the back of this then. He's only 1.5 behind this battle now. And if Murdoch and Danskar don't sort this out quickly, it could still end up being Crumpet. Could even finish fourth here if all goes well. You know, Murdoch's got a penalty or two at least. So I still cannot believe that, man. I cannot believe Ant was taken out like that. Just for the sake of the title fight, I'm disappointed, because that would have really made things so interesting heading into Japan with Ant retaking the lead. So it's tough to see in that regard, but Murdoch then trying to use all of the track limits and beyond it to make this move, and again makes absolutely no effort to make the corner full throttle across turn 2. So I actually would wonder if there's a disqualification possibly coming here with this race, because it's happened so often. Yellow flag in sector 2, no problem for the leaders. Not sure who that was for, but regardless, we'll carry on. Danskar half a second back now. Crumpet moved within DRS range as well. So Crumpet, I think Crumpet may have a penalty or two himself, so interested to see how this and actually, speaking of, they're actually not far behind Baz either. It's only 2.5 seconds back, so from 3rd down to 6th, it's quite close. A penalty two here or there, and this could go anyone's direction really. So see how it goes. Danskar then moves up then by Murdoch. Murdoch always make contact, and luckily for Danskar, it didn't spear him into a wall or anyone else into a wall, but a bit of a clumsy one from Murdoch there, and he could be struggling on his tyres a bit now. Let's see then if Crumpet can make a move heading down the main straight. With a hesitant exit of turn 19 from Crumpet. He's lost a good bit of ground there. On that occasion, meanwhile, look at this, like, remember that 10-second gap? Yeah, there it is. Sirlane has made it up in a hurry, and we'll get the move done before DRS has been enabled. And there you go, then Sirlane up into 8th place, and we'll probably get by Boyden as well before this one is said and done. Murdoch and Danskar again going at it. Oh, I thought there was going to be contact there. That looked, that could have been disastrous. And Crumpet's right here as well. Oh, beautiful shot now. As Murdoch does move ahead of Danskar. Danskar trying to fight back. And the Ferrari, an ever looming threat as well. Lap 26 of 27. One more after this, and that will be the race in Russia. But lots to be decided before then, including this little squabble here for P4. As Murdoch then picks up another penalty, so with that I think he is going to drop out of this one, out of this battle for effective P4. And Danskar again moving by, and Crumpet's there too, but can't make a move, not close enough to make a move. Apex has begun the final lap of the race. We'll try and pick him up as he comes round. Four tenths then, Crumpet to Murdoch. Again, it's not the best exit for Krumpus out of the final turn. But again, one more time, Danskar and Murdoch will renew rivalries. Let's see if Murdoch cuts the corner again. From the on-point board of Danskar. Oh, he actually attempted the corner this time. Sirlane moves by Boyden into 7th. Maybe ish for Sirlane in terms of position gains. These two scrapping so hard for 4th place. It could end up being 3rd place with penalties involved as well. You just never know. And they're still side by side. Murdoch ahead of Danskar and Krumpus now too. This is Krumpus' best chance surely to make a move. He's not been this close to any of them so far. Apex making his way through the final sector to take a controversial win in Russia. There'll be a lot said about afterwards, I'm sure. He rounds the final corner and he wins the Russian Grand Prix. So he's won the race. Hard to get excited over it after what happened, to be honest. Dan's going to try to squeeze his way through on Murdoch. Murdoch will fight it. Oh, avoids the contact. Has Danskar won this one finally on track? Plays with an excellent 2nd place. We'll talk about plays in a bit. Murdoch trying to go down the inside. Oh, he's ran well off the track into the wall and has damaged his wing and has hit into Krumpus as well. Some woeful driving going on here from Murdoch this race, has to be said. Baza then will finish on track in 3rd. Can Danskar leap up to the podium as well? He blitzes the final corner, but he does indeed make it into 3rd. Krumpus in 5th then. Murdoch will take 6th, or will Sirlane vault him in that regard? Yes, he will. Sirlane then in 6th with the unconventional 3-stop. Boyden in 8th then. Bill in 9th, and his teammate Alex will round out the field in 10th. Not too sure how I feel about Danskar blitzing the final corner like that, especially with 2 tenths making up between himself and Baza. Could that have been the difference between P3 and 4? A bit of corner cutting and extending. Hard to say, but regardless, that's where we stand with the Russian Grand Prix. That was a very entertaining race, I have to say. Somehow a double McLaren podium. I can't say I saw that coming before this one started, but there you go. Apex with the win, but really it's been marred by forcing Ant into retirement there, and now a 30-point lead then if the result stands for Danskar, and that's just a massive turnaround. It's effectively a 45-point turnaround basically you're looking at between Ant going ahead in the championship and now Danskar extending his lead to 30 points. Apex wins the race ahead of Plays in 2nd, Danskar 3rd, Baza 4th, Krumpus 5th, Sirlane in 6th, Murdoch 7th, Boyd in 8th, Bill 9th, Alex in 10th, Fernandez 11th, Rob in 12th. Fair bit Rob finishing the race. Pro Opa then I believe was a disconnect in 12th, and so was Piet. So that's going to do it for round number 16 of ILR6 in Russia. Next up is Japan for ILR6, but for ILR itself you can stick right here for ILR 3 and 4 around the same track. So hope you enjoy those races, and until next time.